The Maldives is known for crystal clear water, coral gardens, and safe, predictable diving. In fact, the country's official limit for recreational dives is exactly 30 meters. The group of 5 divers who arrived there were not beginners. 4 of them were directly connected to the University of Genoa, including a marine ecologist, a biomedical engineering student, and 2 researchers. They had obtained a legitimate permit to study soft corals at the Dana Kandu reef. That meant working in open water, surrounded by natural light, with a clear, direct path straight up to the surface at any moment. But this dive did not stop at 30 meters. In a personal decision entirely outside their official scientific mission, the group kept descending until they reached 50 meters, stopping right in front of the dark entrance to an underwater cave. Entering an enclosed space underwater changes the equation of survival. The surface above becomes completely irrelevant. The only way out is backwards, through the exact same dark passages, using whatever limited gas remains in the tanks. As the group sank past the recreational limit, the environment shifted. The vibrant color drained from the water, the reef faded behind them, and the ambient light of the surface disappeared. This animation shows how physical pressure impacts a standard air supply. At 50 meters, the water presses down with roughly 6 times the force of the surface. Every breath a diver takes draws compressed gas at a significantly higher density, meaning their tanks empty exponentially faster than they would in shallow water. Despite the heavy, accelerating draw on their standard tanks and the strong currents moving through the channel, all 5 divers swam into the cave mouth. Below 50 meters, the ocean stops feeling like a place humans belong. The primary threat lies in the physics. The basic physiological rules of recreational diving cease to function entirely. The first chamber was wide enough to move freely, but at the far end, they encountered a tight passage measuring 3 meters wide and 30 meters long, forcing them into close quarters. Deep inside this corridor, a silent physiological threat was taking hold: nitrogen narcosis. This schematic demonstrates compressed air under extreme pressure. Nitrogen crosses a dangerous threshold into the bloodstream, acting like an intoxicating drug and clouding neural pathways. The subtle intoxication heavily alters risk assessment and chips away at clarity of thought, often going entirely unnoticed. Right as the cave environment demanded absolute peak mental sharpness to survive, the physical pressure of the water was actively dismantling their cognitive judgment. Passing through the narrow corridor, the group emerged into a second chamber. Unlike the rocky entrance, the floor here was covered in a thick layer of fine, powdery sand that had settled over years of complete stillness. A single fin kick broke that stillness. The disturbed sand rose immediately, filling the water like a dense curtain and reducing visibility to absolute zero. The divers raised their torches, but the beams were completely useless. Instead of cutting through the water, the light scattered off the particles, bouncing directly back at them and illuminating nothing. Disoriented, with their tanks running dangerously low, the group turned to leave, but the entrance to the 30-meter corridor had vanished into the haze. In the confusion, their guide, Gianluca, separated from the others, pushing his way blindly toward the cave mouth and barely escaping to the surface. This graph illustrates the physiological cost of panic at 50 meters. As fear sets in, a diver's breathing naturally accelerates. Under immense pressure, that rapid breathing drains the tanks at a rate that leaves exactly zero margin for survival. Desperate, running out of air, and highly compromised by narcosis, the remaining 4 divers saw what looked like an opening in the swirling silt. It was a side tunnel that perfectly mimicked the shape and direction of their exit. They swam inside. It was a dead end. The cave itself did not crush them. It simply used total sensory deprivation and extreme pressure to trick their intoxicated minds into choosing the wrong path. Up on the surface, the ocean gave absolutely nothing away. The boat sat on flat, calm water under a clear Maldivian sky, entirely disconnected from the silent tragedy that had just played out below. When the scheduled return time passed, the alarm was raised. Maldivian military diver Mohammed Mahoudi entered the water, descending alone into the brutal, zero-visibility conditions of the cave to search for the missing group. The extreme conditions forced Mahoudi into a rapid ascent. Ascending too fast causes deep water nitrogen, heavily dissolved into the blood under pressure, to violently bubble out of the bloodstream. This causes decompression sickness, a fatal condition that requires immediate treatment in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber like the one seen here. Mahoudi's body could not handle the rapid change in pressure, and he died. The unforgiving physics of the cave had claimed a sixth life. Overhead environments aggressively punish anyone who violates their strict physiological rules, even a rescuer trying to save others. Recovering the original 4 divers required a team of Finnish technical cave divers. These were specialists, trained exclusively to survive the highly specific, lethal environment that had already killed 5 people. The technical team carried the specialized tools the victims lacked: underwater scooters to conserve physical energy, physical guidelines to trace their exit, redundant backup systems, and closed-circuit rebreathers, shown in this diagram, which actively remove carbon dioxide and replenish oxygen to extend a breathable supply indefinitely. Deploying their physical guidelines, the technical team pushed into the second chamber. They deliberately followed the dead-end side tunnel, finding the 4 divers resting exactly where the cave's visual illusion had led them to run out of air. Extreme ocean depths offer zero margin for error. When humans enter enclosed, pressurized environments unprepared, the physical weight of the water is only half the threat. The true danger is the silent physiological betrayal of their own minds.